We're going live now.
Are we live or are we waiting?
We're live.
Okay.
It just told me we're live.
Let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a way of respecting, honoring, and creating awareness about our past, we begin our joint board meetings by acknowledging that New Paltz is on the ancestral land of the Munsee, Esopus, and Lenape people.
So I can amend the village agenda a bit later. We'll go through the joint meeting first. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
So there's nothing to amend on this agenda. Do we have any announcements that we want to make as a group?
I wanted to just take a moment to honor Bill Schnitzer, who passed this past week. He was the first chair of our Historic Preservation Commission, and also he's the reason the circus came to town in, was it January or early February? Now I can't remember. And
March.
it was March. Oh, okay. It was right pre-pandemic. And Bill was such an amazing, just a historian, not only about our town, but also about circuses. And he shared so much and brought the idea of having the circus in our community. He put it in our heads, and he was there, and you know, he was just a wonderful man. So I just want to honor him and send our condolences to Cal, his widow.
Yeah, thanks for putting that letter together, Michelle. That was very nice. Very well said. Any other announcements?
Next Wednesday, so exactly a week from today at 6 o'clock, there's going to be the Public Utility Law Project, which is an agency, you know, it's a state agency that's basically a bunch of attorneys that fight for, you know, public utility rights and education stuff. And so they're bringing us virtually a public utility know your rights training, and that will be a good chance to finally get like some updates on the Central Hudson rate case that's been going on, as well as different moratorium cases and any other questions that people have. But we'll be recording it also, so it'll be, you know, a resource for a while for people. There's info online on how to get the Zoom. It's on the Facebook event too.
Hey, can we just confirm that the volume on the YouTube is working?
I did hear us when
It's working on my Chromebook over here.
Okay, nice. Okay, so do we have anyone here who wants to make a public comment related to our short-term rental law proposal? So that public hearing remains open. I'm sorry,
I don't
Ariana,
believe that we do, and there's nothing on the YouTube right now. Although I don't know who this 845-399 number is, and it would be helpful if I did for the minute.
That's me, Ariana.
It's Dan.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Dan.
We did get an email that I'd like to read from the Kingston Tenants Union. It's not too long. They wrote to us The Kingston Tenants Union has voted to endorse the proposal by the Village of New Paltz to regulate Airbnbs and short-term rentals. By banning non-owner occupied STRs, we can get back to using houses to house local families rather than using houses to extract money from tourists. After compiling publicly available county by county information about Airbnb rentals last year, we found that Ulster County has 3 times the Airbnb rental activity of any county north of New York City. We are also concerned by recent examples of Airbnb's lobbying arm injecting money into local political races. Ulster County was spotlighted during the height of the pandemic as having the fastest rising real estate prices in the country. According to a January 2019 report by the Economic Policy Institute, rising housing prices have been partially linked to the presence of Airbnb. Quote, the largest and best documented potential cost of Airbnb expulsion is the reduced supply of housing as properties shift from serving local residents to serving Airbnb travelers, which hurts local residents by raising housing costs. There is evidence this cost is real, says the report's author, Josh Bivens. Airbnb recently went public and has had a market capitalization of over 100 billion with a B. According to shareholder documents covered by Cranes New York, regulations on Airbnb pose the biggest risks to investors. We are left at a crossroads. Should Ulster County renters bear the burden of maintaining Airbnb's share prices, or should Ulster County renters be able to afford to live here while Airbnb investors take the hit? So I would say they are strongly in support of our proposed law and provided a lot of evidence as to why we are doing it.
Do we want to put this as a discussion item further down on our village agenda, just so we can continue to move forward with this meeting? I'm imagining we're probably all on the same page that we want to continue to keep the public hearing open, but we can discuss it as a board a bit more as we continue. Ariana, do we have any other public comments for the joint meeting?
We do not.
Okay.
Wait, for the regular public comment?
Correct.
We have none for either.
Okay. Reverend Barry, did you want to make a public comment?
In regards to the statement regarding about the Capitol and the events of last week. First of all, thank you. I just got a chance to read it just a little while ago, and I appreciate that we made it. I think that that's probably the most important thing, is that we made a statement. I had one small, maybe not concern, and maybe I'm being picky, but there was something in there, and I'm looking at you, so I can't look at that talked about essentially this is a anathema to our democratic processes, right? Like, this is not how we do things, but as a woman of color, it is how we do things. It's just a sort of how we do things on steroids. And those are very different and distinct.
We can still revise it. We didn't do it yet.
Yep. So that's my comment, is that
I'm gonna find it so we can wordsmith on the fly.
Okay.
Is that okay with everybody?
Yes, definitely.
So where am I looking? Because I can look in, that's what I do, is I put my Chromebook up so I can see the stuff.
I know I'm double screening right now too.
I guess I could.
There we go. I've got it on my phone now.
Democracy. Whereas the actions of this mob were not just criminal and lawless, they constituted a direct attack upon our multiracial democracy and country.
Right, because we only nominally have those things.
How about upon the ideals of our multiracial democracy and country.
Our stated ideals.
Our stated ideals.
And
Everybody cool with all this? I mean, I'm flying because it seems like we would be. So just.
Yeah, I think it's a great edit.
I'm fine with
It
those edits,
constituted a
absolutely.
direct attack upon the stated ideals of our multiracial. There was a double hour there.
Yeah.
And direct attack upon the stated ideals of our multiracial democracy and country.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the only thing is that I'm concerned in general about the ways in which we're conflating insurrection and white nationalism. In this instance, it was white nationalists who led an insurrection. But what if they had won? And then in any effort to retake the country, is insurrection itself still bad? Right? It is circumstantial, but as a nation, I'm noticing that we're talking about them as if they're the same thing. And I think maybe they're not, just as food for thought.
Ari, do you see that message about Alex having trouble getting in?
No.
Does she have the correct link? I don't think that you need to be let into this meeting.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by that part.
I don't see anything in the chat. This is in the YouTube chat?
It's in the Zoom chat.
Oh.
But
Make sure she has
Barry,
the link for this meeting and not the executive session we're in later. She may be trying that one.
Yeah, because I don't have to let anybody into this meeting.
Yeah, it sounds like what Neil just said is the likely culprit.
Thanks. I'll let her know.
So Reverend Barry, I think the point you're bringing up is a really interesting one. Is there something in this resolution that we could wordsmith to handle that? I think that concern, that super valid concern that you're bringing up, so we could wordsmith this differently?
Possibly in the call for a full investigation.
Oh, and don't we need to update this because of today, or did you do that, Bill?
I didn't. I don't think it needs to be updated though.
Okay. All right. I thought. Okay. Because we're asking for resignation or removal, not impeachment. You're right. And I'll use this opportunity to thank Bill. He was primary author of this, and we didn't make a ton of edits. Did a great job, and thank you for doing the work to make it happen.
Sure.
So Jen, where's the
In the first, therefore be it resolved, I think there's something there that we could.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to wrap my mind around this. I'll let you go though.
Maybe it's as simple as by white nationals committing acts of insurrection.
So there's 3 points.
No, it's just a rewording of that first one. Despite weeks of public notice of planning and organizing by white
insurrectionists, white nationalists.
Yeah. Or white nationalists.
Which order does it go in?
I think just get rid of insurrectionists. Just say by white nationalists.
That's a really good edit. Yeah, we don't want to be condemning protests because protest is democracy. In that case, that you gave an example of, if it turned out differently, I feel like I personally would be writing a different resolution at this point. Yeah.
Okay. So all I did was, despite weeks of public notice of planning and organizing by white nationalists, which struck the insurrectionists.
Mhm. I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Thanks for the input.
Yeah, that totally worked. I had to read it a couple times to make sure it was English. I'm slow with that a little bit. I need some moments. But it's English, especially because whereas is like a whole different kind of language. Okay. I don't even, so. Oh, good. I see Alex B got in. So I don't think we have any other public comment. Thank you, Reverend Barry.
Since we have it open, I'd like to motion that we move this resolution.
Should it be read?
Second.
All in favor, Village Board?
Aye.
Hi. You want to characterize it, Bill? You don't need to read the whole thing, but just to give our viewers a snapshot of what it says, please.
Sure. It's a resolution condemning the attacks on the Capitol last week and asking for the resignation and removal of the President of the United States, as well as any of the elected officials who participated and helped make it happen.
Thank you.
Town.
So it's a joint resolution. Does the town want to move it separately?
Did we actually open the town meeting? I think we still have to technically do that.
Okay, I move that we open the joint meeting for the town.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I move that we approve the joint resolution number, the joint resolution that Bill has provided here as amended for the town.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And thank you for your feedback, town.
Thanks for leading the way.
So I see a note here from Alex Wojcik. She's saying that it's not uploading. I saw it uploading live.
I didn't see the changes either.
Yeah, in the version that I clicked on, it didn't update, but I just want to make sure the public sees, those important changes on it.
Oops. I did it in one where a bunch of people are in there.
It could also be me just being confused.
Ari's in there.
Yeah,
I did it in.
this is here. I'm going to put the link in here.
Oh, there you are, Alex. You just arrived.
I'm here. Okay.
And then we're going to receive a police reform update from Essie.
I don't see Essie on here.
I
Oh,
see.
here she is.
I
Okay,
see
cool.
Essie.
Perfect.
Yeah, but she might have stepped away.
I can do that if
Great.
if
She
we'd
is
like.
here though,
Here,
so
yeah. I know.
I don't know.
You want to text her maybe? What about our Jim and Eve here? We could do them first if we're waiting for Essie.
I
don't
think
see
so.
them.
How about
Neil and Tim are the ones.
how about pandemic
without the
operations
implement.
plan? Who wants to discuss the pandemic operations plan for the village of New Paltz and town of New Paltz? This is
Well,
something.
I mean, this is Neil. This, I hope everyone's had a chance to look at this. And thanks to Ariana for spending a lot of time working on this. And, we've gotten some feedback from department heads. I mean, the goal for this pandemic operations plan is to have some sort of framework that we can follow that is somewhat uniform across municipalities, but also flexible enough to let different departments react differently. And I think this is a nice mix for that. It lets people work remotely, stagger their hours, work from home, and it gives some guidance for, how you have to quarantine and stuff like that. So I'm okay with this as it is, and it follows the template that was sent around to us, I think, fairly well, with some minor changes that make sense for us locally. So I'm okay with it.
Ari, what's your suggestion? Are we moving this as individual boards?
Well, so it's a joint plan. It could be done, each board would have their own motion, obviously, but it could be done as a joint plan. And the thing really is that there were a couple of questions still unanswered. I don't know how recently people have looked at this, but it's kind of like it is up to you guys how you want to handle some of this stuff. In particular, there's the employee and contractor leave stuff. The town has opted out of some of these things. I believe
we didn't opt in, right? So
okay, you didn't opt into the paid family leave, right?
The Family First Coronavirus Relief Act expired December 31st. The paid family leave that went with that does not carry over with the new legislation. So there is no more paid family leave as part of the federal legislation, and the town. Then there's New York paid family leave. That's applicable to private employers, but public employers, that law does not apply. You have to opt in, and you have to deduct money from your employees' paychecks to cover it. And the town has not done that, so we can't have a section in there about paid family leave because we don't have it. We have leave, but not paid family leave, and I'm not sure if the village does or not. So that would have to be
for the village, yeah. So I mean, my suggestion would be honestly to just remove that whole section because it does reference. I mean, the point of this plan is not to be for COVID-19, but to be for any communicable disease. So, anything that would be spreading similar to COVID-19, whereas this section really is focused on COVID-19. And I think that we could easily remove it and, not be losing anything because of exactly what Neil just said. But this is totally, if you want to massage it, we can massage it. It would be great if we voted on this tonight, but we do have until the end of the month, like each board here could vote on it at their second meeting of the month. But that means basically it has to be in its final form by the town board meeting next Thursday.
Yeah, and then so the timeline is that by the enabling legislation, we need to get it to all of the associated unions by, I think, February 4th. Is that right?
February 4th, exactly, yes.
And then they need to get back to us, and we need to adopt it by April 1st.
Right.
So, the earlier we get it to them, the better. I think this is a pretty generic plan that because it follows the template that we were given so closely, I don't foresee a lot of problems, but you never know. And I'd like to get it to them as early as possible.
Totally, because we might have to rework things, and then that's going to be like us going back to this draft and making it different. So, I mean, I don't know how do people feel about removing that whole section, employee and contractor leave. There was also another section towards the end about housing for essential employees. Yeah, it's the very last section actually. So it's like those two were things that I think we could totally remove, or we can massage them.
Yeah, my suggestion is that we leave the part about housing in, but we kind of tie it to the existing plans that we have that refer to the to Ulster County Emergency Preparedness, who would be the ones that would be lining that up for us. You know, we wouldn't be responsible for providing the housing, but we would assist in making the connections to, you know, Ulster County or the Red Cross.
Right, and I like what you added here, Neil. The very last paragraph, that seems to make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, Neil's suggestion in that last paragraph, I think, is worded perfectly.
So I'm going to accept that and hide and resolve that one.
Thanks.
I'm good with going ahead and, you know, heeding your suggestions and approving it as a village board this evening. That's my motion. If anyone wants to second it.
Second.
And that would mean deleting the employee and contractor leave portion?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that this is
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the same. I like the idea of trying to keep the plans as uniform as possible because there's enough flexibility in there. So I would eliminate those sections and have that final edit, and I would motion to have the town board accept this plan.
There's one other section, I'm sorry, you guys, that was like wanting us to provide more details of protocols that would be used to implement like storage and access to PPE and procurement of PPE. You know, I don't know if you guys want to like add anything to this. You know, I feel like we have mechanisms in place already, you know, that we've been already utilizing. So we don't necessarily need to go into too much more detail than what's already listed. But, you know, it was suggested by the, like in the template to provide this more detail. So that's why I left all that green highlighting in there.
What would you suggest, Ariana?
I mean, I think that, you know, steps 1, 2, and 3, you know, the direction to procure and store properly, you know, you know, and the A, B's, and C's in there are enough guidance. You know, it's going to kind of, you know, the way we did this with getting PPE from Ulster County, like, you know, that's already in there. So I think we can.
It seems to me that that's enough.
Okay. Cool. I just wanted to make sure we're, you know, really covering our bases here and everyone feels comfortable with all of these things.
So I have a motion on the floor. I think someone seconded it. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Neil, do you want to move yours?
Sure, I'll move it for the town. You know, second, and then if there's any discussion. I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Any thoughts or discussion, or we good to go?
Good to go.
Thanks for
I'm good.
everyone's work on it.
Yeah, Ariana, thank you. Sorry, thank you for taking the lead on much of this. You've been incredibly helpful on this topic, and it's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, and you didn't let go, Ari. Thank you.
Yeah, and
You're welcome, you guys.
we came along begrudgingly. We were reluctant, and you didn't give up.
All right, all in favor for the town?
Aye.
Hey, Neil, I was thinking we got this village board agenda item regarding easement language. You want me to bump that up to our joint meeting just because you and I have been working on that together?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
So we have draft language, and actually we took an old easement and I tasked Ariana with updating it to try to make it fit so we could receive an easement from the property owner, who's Roddy Serta, who owns 85 North Chestnut Street. And the idea is that that sliver of his property to the south could be used as a segment of the Empire State Trail to get folks from the intersection at Henry W. and North Chestnut to the Walkill Valley Rail Trail. So we've been working with Hudson River Valley Greenway and Empire State Trail folks, as well as the consultant who's been helping the town with the bike ped project on Henry W. So we're trying to look at things holistically because, you know, we have a sidewalk project in the village, we have the town's Henry W project, and we have this project, and the consultant at Alta has been really a fantastic project manager. So this is basically just the language that we put together and that the property owner's attorney has now reviewed and they're comfortable with it. And the idea is just that we would have the right to go onto Roddy's property and receive money from the Empire State Trail project to develop this little section to get folks from the intersection to the rail trail. And then another piece to this, and Neil sent out a note to our friends at the New York State DOT because actually getting across the intersection when the new intersection light for Stewart's gets put in, you know, we want it to be part of the, you know, a contiguous project where you go from Henry W across the intersection to this section. So we want to make sure that DOT is, you know, looking at it holistically. So, you know, several balls in the air. Did I miss anything, Neil, on what we're trying to do here?
No, that's it. It's like 4 different moving objects that we're trying to all align at the same time. It's a pretty small project, but it's a crazy amount of work.
Yeah, and I think we're like unbelievably lucky that your consultant at Alta, we tease her every time we talk to her about thanking her for being the New Paltz project manager for anything trails, and it's like, you know, she's just kind of taking this on, being like the person who organizes the next conference call with the folks from Empire State Trail, and just making sure that we all get on a Zoom call and just keep pushing this forward. So it's nice that she's not just looking at her project in isolation, but making sure that everything connects in a logical way. So I've really enjoyed working with the team that you guys hired at Alta.
Yeah, I think this is going to be like kind of the icing on the cake. You know, instead of people just getting dumped onto Chestnut, it's going to just make it really easy for people to connect. And we're lucky we're doing this project and that the other projects are all occurring at the same time. So.
Yeah, and we want to thank Roddy Serta, the property owner at 85 North Chestnut, who's being super cooperative and providing us with the right to go onto the southern portion of his property to make sure that this connection is realized. So it's, you know, everyone gets it, everyone understands what we're trying to do. So and miraculously, it seems like there's a few dollars left over to help us pay for it all that Andy Beers from Greenway is helping us secure. You know, he was the person who spearheaded the entire Empire State Trail project.
I'd like to add,
I think Roddy,
my thanks to Roddy, who's a terrific guy, community-minded person, and you know, the owner of Main Street Auto, who you know, has really, like Neil has said, has made it very easy and great.
Yeah, the consultants were really skeptical. They were like, "Oh, this is going to take a year just to negotiate it." And you know, I think, you know, 1 or 2 meetings later, Roddy's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." They were like shocked. So we're lucky.
So my ask right now is that so we have this draft access easement language. Roddy's attorney has looked at it. You know, it's pretty plain vanilla stuff. So I just want to motion and ask our board that they authorize me to sign this easement so we can continue, you know, to move this along. So my motion is, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks, everybody.
We should get the police reform update from Jen, and then town, I also wanted to make note of our SUNY impact aid reso before you go. So Jen, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. So we are ramping up a great deal in our timeline. Now that the holidays are behind us, in the weeks ahead, we have weeks where we've got three or four different constituent meetings in a week, and they're with all sorts of varied groups. We've got 3 upcoming with the police officers. We just met with the DA, and last night, several of us met with the Quakers. So we still need and want to hear from members of these 2 boards, and we'll be working to schedule that in probably the next week. We'll probably tackle that at our meeting tomorrow. And also I am happy and personally relieved to report that we have indeed started to think about the shape of this report. So we have a draft outline that we're tentatively working with, and we have a tentative introduction section written, and we will also be working with Kate Himes has agreed to be our kind of final editor, which I'm very excited about and thankful for. And she will be meeting with us at our afternoon meeting tomorrow. Are there questions for?
What's the time frame, Jen?
As far as I'm concerned, we can't have a working draft soon enough, which is why I'm pushing hard to get words and ideas to paper now. You know we have to have the whole thing done, signed, sealed, delivered, everybody's approval by April 1. So in my mind, that gives us
Not a lot of time.
Not a lot of time. Not a lot of time. Five weeks to write, to have time to also then revise and edit and polish.
What's the penalty? Hasn't Governor Cuomo said that if communities don't have this done by that April deadline, something about funding? Maybe you or Neil can explain.
Yeah, there was a threat to withhold aid, and the governor has reiterated that, I think, on a few occasions as well now.
What kind of aid?
Aid.
Initially, yeah, I was gonna say, I think it initially was a narrow category, and then he broadened it out after to just general aid.
Mm-hmm.
Which could potentially be significant if the state and federal aid comes through, and depending on who it gets funneled through. So, it is important that, we have to vote on this by April 1st, but it means that we need to see drafts and be able to have discussions about them before April 1st, because we need to vote on April 1st. So, but you're well aware of that. So.
I'm intensely aware of that. So, is it helpful if I take back to the committee a date that you want to see a draft by, right? Rather than us kind of making this time frame up ourselves.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, Jen. It'll help you establish some benchmarks where you want to be.
It would be good to have.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like by the first week of March, if we could have something, that would be beneficial.
Okay.
I agree. If we had 2 meetings to discuss, that would be really, really beneficial.
Yeah, I think the only thing that we can count on when it comes to government work is that everything takes longer than it should.
Yeah.
So is there like a, draft posted to the community early March so people can chime in drafts? Is that what we're saying here, just to be clear? Because
I think our role as a board is to adopt the product that comes from the commission. So I think it's fair that during that March process, that is a public document that we can hear people's thoughts on prior to us then having and adopting it.
Certainly would be a way for everyone to be included who hasn't had a chance to provide input. That would certainly give everyone a chance to have some input.
Yeah, we have worked very hard to try to make contact specifically with the apartment complexes and the residents there. And in at least one instance, we have met with flat refusal. We are not interested. We do not trust. We want nothing to do with it. So, you know, we have worked very hard to make sure that certainly all of the sort of organized ad hoc community groups are aware of what we're doing and that they have had a chance to bring ideas, insights, research, anything that they have to us. But I know that there are people we should be hearing from that we are not hearing from. And especially given COVID, limited creative means of outreach. And I'm at a loss for any other creative ideas for how to overcome that resistance and reluctance.
I think you just have to, you know, name it, own it, put it in the methods section or whatever, like you would if you were doing, you know, it's like the limitations in a forthright way.
Yep.
And you demonstrate how you did the best you could with the time and the resources at hand.
Yeah.
We have to be realistic in our expectations.
Right. But in terms of community organized groups, I feel very confident in saying that we have done more than due diligence to provide opportunity and to be mindful of input and to make use of ideas and input. So that I feel that we have absolutely met that and exceeded that bar.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, this is exciting. We look forward to seeing that draft. That'll be.
Yeah, thank you so much for your work so far too.
And Jen, when will we hear from you next?
Well, we have
Come
committed
to every joint meeting.
Yeah, someone's
Every
at
joint
Sorry to talk over you.
Okay.
I did want to mention too that everybody, I think, but you, Jen, because I know you had a prior commitment, the county did a big day-long symposium on how to do this process, and Essie was there, and there was broad New Paltz representation from both your group and you know, the team that's formally working on it and a bunch of other people from New Paltz. So I wanted to mention that for a countywide thing. I think like half the room was from New Paltz. Yeah, again.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt.
No. You know, people are taking this very seriously. This is vital work. Anything
All
else?
right, thanks again, Jen.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything and the help with the reso too.
Thank you, Jen.
Happy to help.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have the SUNY Impact Aid resolution. So we've done this resolution each year for the last few years, and we're waiting for the money that was earmarked in the budget from last year. We haven't received that check yet. So incoming Senator Martucci's chief of staff said he will look into seeing what's going on with that money. It's probably all tied to whether we end up getting any federal aid. But it seems like it makes sense for us to officially request via resolution SUNY Impact Aid for this coming budget as Albany is putting together fiscal year 2021 budget. So this is just the same
And I
resolution
think
that we
town
did.
usually does it too.
We've done it the last few years on our own. Basically the folks in Albany just need some piece of paper to point to.
Right.
So it's fine to
Okay.
do this as a joint resolution or as just a village resolution. I think if we get last year's money, that would be amazing. If we get this coming year's money, that would be twice as amazing. So I'd like to motion that we move this request for SUNY impact aid.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Do you guys want to move it as a board? You know, you could take,
Sure, I'll move it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
and then Ariana, you can stick the town boards.
I can make it a joint resolution. Yeah, no problem.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, town.
Good luck.
Oh, we might as well do this since our Millbrook Preserve is a joint project too. So a few years ago, we received an award from New York State Parks to spend some money in the Millbrook Preserve. So we've been working with Peak Engineering to get a couple of stream crossings designed and constructed. And we finally received an estimate for those two pieces. One is a bottom, I think it's a culvert without a bottom. Yeah, it says open bottom culvert that is 8 foot long. And then the other is the steel bridge that's a bit closer to the bottom of North Manheim, which is a longer span of approximately 45 feet. So the estimate to have those two water crossings is between 130K and 150K. And our Parks grant award, I think it was for just north of 300K, but there's a pretty significant match. Hopefully we can check off that match box with a lot of the volunteer work that folks like Julie and others have helped organize over the last few years. That would be the hope. But I think it's probably better to err on the side of using less of the grant award, just with all the financial headwinds that Albany is facing. Even if they go ahead and greenlight this project, I think this would be truly amazing. But it'd be really nice to have, these two water crossings to be navigated without, getting so muddy or, ending up in the stream. So I don't know that there's really a motion on the table regarding this topic. It was more of just an update, and Ariana was chasing down the engineers from Peak to get this information. And I think we just got it yesterday or today, and I had shared it with Neil as well. So we'll just keep pushing with that project.
Thanks. I think that's a good plan.
Okay. I don't know that we have anything else joint, right?
Yeah, we have an executive session.
So you guys are you're gonna go do your own Zoom
Do
link?
our own thing, and then we'll come back if we're making a, I already set up a Google Meet for us. Everyone has the link. We'll go off and do that, and then we'll come back if you guys are still in session, or we'll just keep track of the notes.
Yeah, Neil, if you don't need to come back into this meeting, you can just text me, what time you came out of executive session, and I'll put that in the minutes. No problem.
Great. All right, so that I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for the town board and have Chief Lucchese join us.
Second.
Everyone have the link?
Well, just really quickly, Neil, I'm a little confused. Are we meeting with Google Meets or are we going on to our town board Zoom?
If you look at
Google Meets.
Google Meets. Okay.
Ariana's invitation to us a few days
Got
ago.
it. Okay.
Thank you
Bye,
very much for
town.
setting that up.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, town.
Bye, guys.
Hi, guys.
Okay, so for the village board agenda, I wanted to add some stuff here. I wanted to add an item regarding the idea of making the section of Huguenot Street one way, and then we have a request for a water sewer bill relief at a property on Tricor Ave. We have the tax lien foreclosure agreement. We have, is this different, Ariana, the resolution number for the tax lien? Are those two different things? I don't understand.
They are one item technically, but you have to, one is the agreement and the other is the resolution.
Okay, perfect. So adding both of those things. And then Bill, you wanted to provide like another update on, you know, what we've learned in the last couple of days regarding COVID vaccines?
Sure.
Okay, so that's there. And then maybe we can just touch base as a board on our proposed short-term rental law. Anything else we want to add to this agenda before I move it as amended? No, I motion that we move the agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we got this consent agenda. I just wanted to pull this one thing out here. I think it's super cool that we tried to sell that used Chiefs truck, the Chevy Tahoe, and we used an auction site. And I've I've heard like articles discussed on NPR about how the used car market is so frothy. You know, we're selling this Chevy Tahoe for $8,000, so that seems like a huge win for us to resell that vehicle. But I'd like to move the village consent agenda.
Huge.
Huge. Is that your second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Frothy.
What?
You said frothy.
You know, I've been listening to all that impeachment
I
stuff.
don't know
They're
what
like,
that means.
I'd like to yield 1 minute to KT so she can talk about frothiness.
I'm asking.
Frothy?
It means
Like
it's
more
like
money than
making
we
money?
expect. More money than we expected.
That was implied. I kind of got that, but it was a fun word.
Yeah. Okay.
You know how I love fun words.
Yeah. So this idea of closing the section of Huguenot Street in between Broadhead and Mulberry to make it one way if you're going northbound. I think what's fascinating about this concept is like it's already in our code. This is the law on Sundays from 8 a.m. to 12:15. I don't think it's enforced at all. So I think it's like clearly this was considered a good idea at some point in the past, and it was thought of as something that would help with church traffic. I think there's other benefits to doing it now, and that's why we've been discussing it for the last several minutes. You know, protect the Huguenot Street houses. You know, that whole, and especially since we closed the southern portion between Broadhead and North Front Street. You know, Huguenot Street has really become this like linear park that we've always wanted it to be. And you know, this is a way to continue to provide vehicle access to, you know, this section of the street, but I think it does it in a more, you know, pedestrian centric way, which we could all benefit a little more from. It's a very valuable sanctuary that we have here in New Paltz, you know, just for clearing one's head, but also for visiting some really nice historically preserved architecture. I'm ready to go ahead and set a public hearing to update our village code, and it's already in there, as I mentioned. You know, chapter 198-3D. We'll just be changing the times.
So Tim, I know there's a sign on one end of Huguenot Street. Is there a sign on the, I guess, the southern end?
I don't know. I haven't inventoried, you know, what signs are there, or even, you know, researched like when this was instituted. But it would certainly require some new signs. You know, we could see if we have some do not enter signs in our existing inventory in the DPW garage. But to answer your question, Bill, I'm not certain of what's there in terms of signage.
Yeah, there is one on the north side. the north end.
I think
of it.
there's two, right? Because they flank both sides of the street.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
But they would have to be updated. Maybe that's just a sticker or something that would.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I
and
think
you know,
that's the only two, last I checked, because I went and looked a couple weeks ago when we first started talking about this. It's just the two on that one side.
it's just this concept of like having one ways for certain hours of the week just feels so incredibly dated. And like, as I shared with you guys today, like actually the street that KT lives on, when the middle school is in session, that's a one-way street, right? Like, I just don't think, I feel like maybe 40 years ago, Ariana and I were joking about this, how like maybe 40 years ago, little communities could have, you know, these specialty days where we're one way some days and two ways other days and people would remember, but like we're entirely too transient. We have way too many visitors. Like we need really easy to follow traffic laws. So I think this is an improvement. But I also, you know, I want to have a public hearing, and I think like our board is always on the same page in that like we'd rather err on the side of having public hearings open longer and like send letters to the paper. And, you know, if there's anyone who could think of something that we're not considering as to why this might be a bad idea, you know, they'll relay their concerns to us. So I'd like to go ahead and set a public hearing for our next meeting to seek public feedback on this proposed change.
I'll second.
What's the date, Ari? So we can
January
amend
27th.
Jan 20, what, 22?
Yeah, 27.
27. So yeah, friendly amendment to my motion is public hearing on that date. Bill,
Tim, I just forgot, I wanted to just say out loud, since our county legislators weren't here, that we wanted to continue to encourage them to oppose the Kingstonian pilot.
I second that idea.
Third.
Fourth.
Will they even get a chance to vote on that again?
I don't think so, but I wasn't just talking about formal power.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, you know, I've been trying.
Still happening.
I mean, you and I have both been trying to reach out to the chair of the county ledge as well as the county exec, and you know, we see
Crickets.
Jim and Eve on all of our correspondence. So, and you know, they both respond to our emails, and you know, at least relay that they see what we're talking about. I think it's incredibly odd that we don't get any response whatsoever from the chair of the county ledge. I feel like that's like one of the responsibilities we have as elected officials. I mean, people contact me all the time and I would love to just like ignore them, but I feel like that's like job one. Like you can't.
I can't imagine doing that to a constituent, let alone an elected official peer.
It's
I
Twilight
don't
Zone
care
stuff.
if people, you know, ask me questions from Kingston, I'll answer them. I don't draw lines on the map like that.
Well, and our questions have to do with economic development policy that impacts county residents. You know, this is not a Kingston specific project. And my question in particular has to do with, you know, something that the president of the IDA said to the Kingston City School District in terms of, you know, who ends up paying for the, you know, the tax abatement. Is it, you know, is it Kingston City School District residents that include, you know, 10 different, you know, residents from 10 different municipalities, including the city of Kingston? Is it county-wide? And, you know, I wanted clarity on the assertion that the president of the IDA made. I don't know if she's president or if she's CEO or what title that they use for Rose Woodworth, but she said that that we needed to hear back from Chair Donaldson, and Chair Donaldson has not responded to any of my emails.
I'm concerned about the precedent. I mean, I think this is a bad pilot for a bad project, but I mean, Corey, you know, will tell us from building department, the phone's ringing off the hook. There's all sorts of anecdotal and real evidence of the development pressure that's happening now. We proved or are proving now, because Zero Place is about to open its doors, that pre-COVID at least you could do a net zero impact project with considerable public amenities, with a robust public engagement and dialogue that improved the project, and a project that did not require any tax reductions granted to the developers. So we proved you don't even need to do this and get a lot better.
Plus, the Zero
I'm
Place.
just worried if they say yes to this, that's how capitalism works. If I was a banker and I was given a loan for a project and I knew that this was a possible thing, of course they're going to go for it, because that's how capitalism works, is to get profit. So you can't allow it.
I just wanted to add, because you were talking about the public amenities that the Zero Place project provides. Like, additionally, that development paid significant rec fees. I think at least $140,000 or $180,000 in rec fees that we use to construct our playground.
Get a little plaque at the playground at least.
Yeah.
The Zero Place slide.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, the rec fee point.
Go ahead. Sorry, Alex, go ahead.
The rec fee point, I think, is a big sticking point for me, especially just thinking in terms of, like, yeah, that's just like a major point for me. You have to at least support something in the community.
Well, they're saying they are, and that it amounts to millions and millions of dollars.
No, like something real, like a rec fee.
Math.
Yeah, I mean, as I've brought up several times and tried to relay to, the folks in the legislature, as well as the county exec's office, is, what happens when, a development like the Lalo Group is interested in constructing in the pit, which is probably larger than the Kingstonian in terms of the possibility of residential or hotel or offices or retail space with public parking. What if they get a pilot? We don't get any sales tax. How do we then, make sure we have enough money for our volunteer fire department to serve and protect that? I guess that, they could get a pilot separate from the fire department, but you can't do that because we don't have a fire district. Like, that works if you have a fire district. That does not work because we only have one taxing authority that is responsible for funding the New Paltz Fire Department. But we have stormwater responsibilities. We have numerous other expenses, that support properties in our village. But that's a whole other conversation. So do we need, I mean, KT, you were bringing this up because you just want to just.
Thanks for letting me interject it. That was.
Yeah, we're just publicly relaying that we appreciate when Eve and Jim respond to our emails and let us know that at least they're hearing what we're saying, and we're encouraging them to continue to work on behalf of New Paltz taxpayers. So I think regarding the public hearing for the one-way on Huguenot Street, I'm going to call the question. All in favor of setting up that public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, then moving on to the next item. Bill, you want to walk us through the firehouse third-party inspection and testing agency stuff? Bill, you're on mute.
Yeah, I think Ari can help out on that. All we did was I suggested that our building inspector weigh in, and he came back with, I've forgotten what the recommendation was, but I think we should follow what Corey was suggesting.
Well, actually, so it was Palumbo that had initially recommended that we go with the, what is it, the Atlantic, the first one, Atlantic Testing Laboratories. And Corey, Corey has said that both sounded good to him. His, initial reaction would have been Tectonic, but he felt like, since Palumbo's worked with both, and with this project specifically, they felt like Atlantic Testing would be the better choice just for the number of tests that we're going to have to do. So if you guys want to go with that recommendation, that's to choose Atlantic Testing Laboratories.
Sorry, Ari, I forgot. I didn't hear which company that was.
Atlantic Testing Laboratories. Yeah. Yeah. And Corey concurred. I mean, he was definitely on board with choosing them as well.
Yeah.
What are they testing?
Concrete, that sort of thing. Resistance.
Got it. Okay.
How well it's setting.
Why are we voting on this as like an individual piece to this project? Why isn't this baked in?
Nancy told me we had to.
Okay. How much is it?
Sorry, my computer's loading.
Oh, geez, it's all like per hour.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's per test. That was part of why I think they wanted to go with these guys, is because it's like the number of tests. This made more sense.
Okay. Right. And then Palumbo, we have hired and they work on our behalf. Yeah, I feel like they're being a great partner and super communicative, and they took a great deal of pride in the bidding process that they organized recently. So I'm feeling comfortable heeding their advice in terms of who to use for this testing work. So I motion that we go ahead with Atlantic Testing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then the next
Ditto to
item.
all of that.
What?
Ditto to all of that.
Okay. Next item is we have the resolution to move our village elections to November. So this is a permissive referendum, so we can move it. I guess there's the possibility that, what was the language that Will used? Do you guys have that in an email? But basically, what we're looking to do here is, historically, our elections have taken place in May, and we're looking to piggyback on the November election season. I think this makes a great deal of sense, especially as there's so much change with early voting and trying to make voting easier and more accessible to more people. We would never be able to pay for that if we continue to host our own separate elections. So then the other piece too is that in Ulster County, the Board of Election pays for municipalities' elections. So, we're essentially not taking advantage of a program that the County Board of Elections, would pick up on our behalf. So this is a resolution to basically ask the county to host our elections. And then the other piece to all of this is that we put this on the ballot this coming May, and then our voters will decide if they want to go ahead and move the election date to November. Did I describe it fully, Ari, or would you add anything?
No, I think you did a great job. I just put in the chat the information from Will's email. It's much more like the pro forma stuff. It doesn't really pertain to the public a lot. It's just about publishing different things.
Okay, great. So yeah, thanks for working with Nancy and Alberta and Will to get this all done. You guys all work together to make this change, and I think this will be like a really exciting improvement to make voting in village elections more accessible to more people.
Yeah, I think that, there's trade-offs, but you know, you look at the number of people who vote in our elections, and those conversations about those trade-offs become kind of esoteric because the proof is in the pudding. And if you want more people to vote, you have to create a structure that gets more people to the polls, which this most definitely will.
Yeah, and all these new, oh, sorry, Bill.
That's all right. How does this affect? Does that now make it a partisan election? Where we have
You
two
can
parties?
still do independent nominating petitions, but
it
So
does
that's
change
what
our
we do
time.
now, which is the nonpartisan thing. It adds to that you can also run on one of the major parties. Like now you can't run on one of the major parties. We all, as we know, because we're sitting here and we made up a party name.
Right.
And made up a logo, and you couldn't do the two-party thing.
Yeah, so you could
now
still
you will
petition.
be able to do that, but the independent nominating petition thing, you can do that as well. Like I think Dan Torres did like the Bull Moose Party one year. So
Yeah,
you can run on one of those like that and do one of the major parties or not, or any combination of the above.
Right, so there will now be primaries in village elections, but then you could also get on the general election ballot just by collecting signatures, just like we do now. Those are the independent nominating petitions. So, you know,
Is there cost involved in the primaries?
What's that?
What's the cost involved in the primary?
The county pays for it.
County pays for it. We'll just be bandwagoning everybody else's.
So we're just basically sending the bill to the county.
Well, so if you're, let's say,
yeah.
if you're running, you collect the requisite number of signatures to get on a major party's primary ballot, and then you're on that ballot. Then you could also, and then let's say you lose, you could still get on the general election ballot by collecting signatures. And
But just to be, sorry to interrupt, but the timeline of that is not that order. You actually, you can run for a party. Oh wait, maybe now that it's in June, actually, Alex, is it still like that? Because I'm thinking of the September calendar where independent nominating petitions were in August. So now are they in May?
I'd have to pull up that email. I could do that. There's just been so many updates in the past week.
Yeah, but that's so we'll find out because I don't think it's that order. So you have to run parallel, basically run as a Democrat or Republican, and at the same time do your independent nominating petitions, and then you have that as a fallback if you lose the primary.
We'll definitely get all this stuff sorted. I think it would be helpful just to kind of, you know, put it all on one page.
Like an infographic even of like something.
Especially, you know, because I think people are going to have these same questions and whatnot, you know, so there's also like even more benefits to doing this move that are happening like right now in Albany, you know, such as, you know, getting rid of the long lead time, you know, to register to vote at a location to be eligible, which would actually really benefit the village because we have, you know, people who move to different districts, you know, like across village and town lines, you know, so frequently and stuff like that. So I think we should have a follow-up talk about this at a future meeting, just, you know, once we get that all organized and then share widely.
Do we want to write a letter to the paper that you know, on this topic? And also, Ari, how hard is it for you to access historical data on turnout in elections? Because I wouldn't mind crunching, you know, it to demonstrate the low participation.
I have no idea how hard it is. I would have to look into that before I even know. I have never actually done that. So I'm happy to try.
I have some of it from the past 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, like anything I have is like a, kind of a mishmash of, different campaigns I've worked on.
I
Right.
mean, our clerk's office should just have those voter rolls.
But that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I mean, you should probably need the last few elections just to get a sense of turnout. That's what you're looking for. Yeah, I think that's just an ask of the clerk's office. Okay, so did we vote on this resolution?
You haven't seconded it yet.
Okay, I seconded it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have this revolving loan fund with money from the federal agency HUD. We were trying to create an addendum so it could be used for more than just capital projects or improvements by businesses within the village. We wanted to see if we could, because in the guidelines, it specifically says you cannot use it for emergencies or operations. So the idea that we've been considering is to create for a limited amount of time a special condition where the money could be borrowed for emergencies or operations. And I corresponded via Senator Gillibrand's office with an individual from HUD, and he explained to me, he liked the write-up that I shared with him in terms of, the addendum. He just thought we needed to add how long. I purposely didn't put a time frame on it because I just referenced, the global pandemic.
Have we lost him?
Seems like it.
I was just going to ask if it was just me or not.
I was wondering the same.
I'll text him. He's probably left and coming back.
Yeah. I see that he's not in the participants list anymore.
Where were we? Can we do stuff?
I mean, in the
We were talking about revolving loan fund. Of which I'm totally supportive of what we're trying to do, which is to expand it to use these funds. It's just that they originate from HUD, so we want to make sure that we follow all the rules. So we have to check all the boxes. It was fun emailing with Elliot Auerbach, who works at State now, about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a concept I support, but I don't know how to explain it well.
I'm gonna move the item of the purchase of the two laptops.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna move bills and claims.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is this the easy one to do, Ari? The 22 tri-car? Is it complicated?
I mean, it's it's like totally up to you guys,
I we could skip down. I could do planning board report because it's very.
Okay,
brief.
good idea.
They did not meet last week, so I have no report.
Oh. Right, but I know Michelle has ZBA, right?
Yes. Jeez.
Sorry, I just took a bite of my granola bar.
When that happens.
I figured I had time because Bill was going to talk. ZBA did meet, but it was really just a formality to vote officially on the resolution for 66 South Chestnut. So it was literally a 10-minute meeting. So nothing new there, really.
Thank you.
All right, let me see this tax lien foreclosure stuff.
This stuff is pretty standard, actually.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, it's like we do this every year. It's with the county.
Yeah.
And basically for the agreement, you would just authorize the mayor to sign it. And then the resolution is tied to it. But yeah, and there's like a very short list on it.
Okay, so I'll move the first one. Can I do both at the same time?
I guess you could.
All right, I move both of these tax lien resolutions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
He says his internet is dead. He texted me. Ari or Bill or somebody, can somebody talk about the vaccinations for COVID?
Sure. Well, Tim and I were on a call, as well as Neil Betez, with the county yesterday. And it was an overview of where the rollout of the vaccine stands. And the headline is, there's a great deal of demand to get vaccinated. However, the supply of vaccines is very low. The county has gone through their allotment for this week. I think tomorrow, Thursday, is the last day that they'll be giving vaccinations, and they've had to cancel the vaccinations, the appointments for vaccinations Friday and Saturday, and they'll move those people to next week. From, I think, within 24 hours, the number of eligible people in the county went from 25,000 people to 60,000 people. And Mark Ryder reported from the county that yesterday, I believe, or the day before, no, it was yesterday, that the county vaccinated 480 people. So you can just imagine the backlog of people wanting to get vaccines. So I think the most important thing to convey is that if you're in the eligible group or any eligible group, and you live in the county of Ulster, that you go to, and maybe Ari, can you put the web address www.vaccinateulster.com, I believe it is, on the screen, so that people can refer to that to get information from the county. And on that site, you can register and be notified when when your appointment's ready. So
I don't know how to put that on the screen, I just have to say, unless I share my screen.
Okay, well, I believe the web address is www.vaccinateulster.com. So that's where you would
We
go.
could add it to the village website also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it's probably already there, but we
It's already in the
put it
COVID doc,
the
yeah.
COVID doc, as well as the state site. I've been told to advise people to not just do the sign up on the county site, do the state site too. You'll probably have to travel further, through the state one, but you may get it sooner if you go through the state one. I'm just passing on anecdotal stuff, but there is a state site in addition to the county site.
Sure. And soon, for example, TOPS is on the state list for giving vaccinations, though they don't have the vaccine, but they're on the list. There'll be a number of other private doctors and hospitals in the area that you can get a vaccine at some point. So the mantra is patience is the way to go here, is that everyone needs to know that there's thousands of people wanting the vaccine. It could take a couple of months actually to get everyone in the county that's eligible now in groups 1A and 1B. Wish there was better news, but those are the facts.
Anybody have anything to add to that? Or I see Tim is back, and I've been reading the 22 Frycourt sewer situation. I don't think that's a compelling argument, is my take. I tend to be generous with these. We all do. But in this instance, I would say it doesn't meet the criteria.
Yeah, I would agree. I would deny the request for relief.
I feel the same way.
You know, and even the dollar amount that's being asked is like, you know, $20. I think it sets like a really odd precedent. What if someone says, I took fewer showers because it was COVID, you know, like it just seems really odd.
Yeah, there's actually an explanation for the use, and that was the cost of doing what was done, is my take. And your point is important, that, you know, we sort of need to know where to draw the line on this, because we have to be consistent.
Yeah.
So I think that's it, Tim. You can watch it later on YouTube.
So you did the foreclosure agreement and the resolution for the tax lien.
Yep.
Vaccination stuff. Short-term rent.
Didn't do short-term rentals, and I don't know if you
right, we
wanted
didn't
to
do
vote
that.
on anything regarding the revolving loan fund.
No, there's nothing to vote on.
Okay.
I guess we could. Well, you know what? Maybe we should vote on it, because I feel like we're on the same page. What?
Does the vote need to be like pending resolution, or do we just? I guess get to the end of what you were going to say when you got cut off earlier, which was about this.
Yeah, I think we should look for the board to approve this addendum to the revolving loan fund to address specific issues related to the coronavirus, so that we could lend money to village businesses who need, you know, financial assistance related to operations or emergencies.
I'm with it.
Yeah, I think we were all on the same page. We just needed to make sure that HUD was okay with us wanting to do it. And the response I got back from the representative at HUD, it seems like there's a path. So my motion is just that we continue to follow that path, and then authorize me to go ahead and move the opportunity to or, you know, the possibility of lending the money.
Was that a second, Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my second. I'm with it.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So that was it then, right? You guys, and you
I think
bought
so. Oh no, STR law, which yeah, I think we all want to keep it open, but did you want to talk about it at all?
No, I just, you know, you asked me to try to add some language in terms of defining a permanent resident, and I found some discussion on like the State Department of Taxation and Finance about And I forget what the phrase is right this minute, but I tried to include some of that.
Cool. So nothing that changes it substantively. It just.
So I think that's the important point, and like why I'm very comfortable with like any of the edits we've made while we continue to have it in public hearing is like, if anything, we're just like refining this proposed law. We're not changing the spirit of it. What we're trying to do is to make it easier for our enforcement officials. We're trying to make it easier to understand for, you know, the folks who will be following the law. You know, we're just sharpening pencils. We're not doing anything new or different in terms of the spirit of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah,
and I sent the
is to allow for this in residential neighborhoods if you are owner occupied, permanent residence, connected to the community for a variety of reasons. And I think that the Kingston Tenant Union letter outlined the larger pressures that are happening, and what's, you know, the big difference, and what happens, you know, when housing stock declines because it's prioritized for mini hotels, as Tim likes to say, in residential neighborhoods. We've tried real hard to be careful with the nuance between, you know, the single mom who does this to stay in place and pay her mortgage, and guys on computers in Manhattan buying up houses and making money from afar, you know, pulling it out of the community. There's no one size fits all. And I've been looking at other places' laws. Like I think it's really nice that we can sort of add this on top of our already existing. Because when I look at other places, like they don't have that. So having that foundation, and to be clear, it's already, we don't even have to pass this law. You're supposed to be already getting inspected if you're doing STRs. You do fall already under the current law. And I always say, you know, put that on your page, you know, like got local inspected, you know, like broadcast that stuff. I would.
Yeah, I mean, we do have, so what's different about this is, and why I like it so much more than what I've seen, you know, I've been to numerous NICOM breakout groups discussing how this can be handled. And I really feel like the way we're approaching this, and that's why it kind of resonated with me when I heard the city of Springfield, you know, discuss how they were approaching it. Because to me, it's really about zoning, and it's less about like creating some new bureaucratic licensing or permitting system. Like we already have, you know, to KT's point, we already have a way to make sure that rental properties are being inspected. And we're agnostic whether it's a short-term rental property or a long-term rental property. They should all be inspected for safety reasons. All we're doing with this law is we're just saying it's kind of like a zoning thing where we allow short-term rentals in commercially zoned districts, and we allow them in residentially zoned districts, but only if it's a primary residence. That's why I think this is very different and will be easier to understand and follow and then enforce than some of these other approaches where they might be doing a license or a permit. You know, it's the same reason like we don't allow a manufacturing facility to be constructed in a residential zone. Like we don't allow, you know, certain uses to be allowed in certain zones. And the only type of short-term rental that will be permitted are on properties or in homes where the person, whether they're an owner or a renter, is, if it's their primary residence. So we're making sure that language in this law is as clear as possible. And I also feel like there's a difference too between doing this in a place like the village of New Paltz, where it's more dense, Whereas, maybe if you were in a more rural community and homes are more spread out, you're a little bit less concerned about how properties are used. Whereas like if you have, several houses right next to each other and then they all become mini hotels, and then that's supposed to be a residential neighborhood, it's no longer a residential neighborhood, it's then a commercial neighborhood by default.
Yeah, the density factor is definitely can change the perspective.
Right, as opposed to like one house in the woods, like, maybe
Yeah.
a different municipality would be more comfortable allowing that to be a short-term rental property if that is zoned residential. That's a home rule.
But they're not, because the other compelling reasons on the list still exist, like Hurley and Woodstock and those places have laws because of the cost.
Absolutely. I think there are other reasons. I feel like
Yeah.
in our situation, we have those same reasons, but then we have
Plus.
other density considerations on top.
So I hope we're close. I feel like we've had it open for a while. I think we should open it tonight, but I might argue that we move forward at our next meeting.
I think, yeah, feels about right.
Because, there is the market's just out of control.
Yeah, I think giving people a chance to see the latest tweak, is all I want. You just did a great job explaining it. Literally, like we've just been, fixing it here and there. I'm feeling really good about it now also.
Good. So we'll have it on the next agenda, and then we might consider closing the public hearing.
Awesome.
And adopting the law. Okay, so that's it for this evening?
Yes.
Tim, after we adjourned, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah, you want to just stay on the Zoom call?
Yep.
Okay, so Ari so I motion to adjourn. Ari will
second
detach us from YouTube, but we can talk on the Zoom.
With it.
Okay.
Happy New Year.
Bye.